the right answers. So with that said, and I'm going to do this again, I do want to introduce CryptoGigo, Blue, and even though More Altruism can't be here, More Altruism as our community moderators. Our primary focus will be Discord as the best environment, most secure environment, and the environment where we will have a support ticket process in order for people to get answers directly from the team. And then, of course, we will be utilizing Twitter and these spaces not only as an opportunity to engage with the hooded and those that have already decided to stand by the community, but also to ensure that we have clear ambassadors that are creating scheduled spaces so that both existing and potentially new, and those of course just interested in asking questions from many other communities, can come together and have a space to come to learn more about Rever, and then to make sure that that environment is one of respect and that it's healthy. We all know what's been going on, and I don't know if that what's been going on would ever really end, but we can certainly do our best to try. Also, just know this isn't about one person. This isn't about three people. The plan for Rever is very much aligned with not only building out our technical team, but certainly building out a community team. Because again, there's such an important. I take it upon myself, and I think we all do. Certainly, those that have taken on the role for moderator, to understand that there is a bridge currently being built, a bridge between the non-DeFi world and the DeFi world, and that bridge isn't built on or by one company, one organization. It is important that it's built by all of us, all the communities, and we've seen it across Shiba community, Saitama, every other community, SafeMoon. People are taking the time to educate others, to help them understand risk mitigation steps. And then ultimately, if we give people the tools and the instruments, then as we're communicating what we're attempting to do and why we're doing it in a certain way at Rever, hopefully they'll at least understand, right? And that's the key with these spaces, to reach a level of understanding. And for the most part, hopefully through that understanding, see that, if we want to disrupt the healthcare system and bring innovative disruption to the system to ensure that we can not only decentralize power, but do so in a way that gives more power to health consumers and the smaller healthcare institutions that are trying to serve, overall larger population, right? If you think of all the many small independent pharmacies and private practices and health products companies that are out there trying to do good work, then ultimately, my hope is that they'll then take a first step to join the space again. And it really starts there, just making sure that people know where they can come back to. So with that, I don't want to just make an introduction. I know More Altruism can't be here. I want to lift More Altruism up at this time, but also CryptoGigo and Blue. Maybe we can start just in the order that I see on the screen with CryptoGigo and then Blue.
Thanks. Thank you. This is really a great opportunity, Warrior, to be a part of this team. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for everybody joining today. This is going to be a great journey. I saw Rever at its inception, and I've been someone who have followed Warrior for a good bit of time. And I can say with this man, he is very, very into the field of healthcare, of course. If you know his background, he's a medically trained doctor. And for him to push these ideas about revolutionizing the healthcare industry in the way that it's being perceived, it really, really struck with me. So I really appreciate being a part of this team and really look forward to help lifting up the community to being on this journey. As Warrior had stated in one of his mantras, that revolutionizing healthcare and commerce, displacing that invisible hand so that everyone can have a passage to wealth, longevity, and health. I couldn't have said it better. So, I'm really, really in, and I want to basically join with everyone here to make this journey. Whatever I can do, I'm here to serve the community, to serve each one of you, to help navigate as we go through this journey and as we try to, get that better life as it relates to our health and our well-being. So whatever I can to uplift the community and help guide anyone here, I'm here to serve.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Crypto Jigo. And I just want to lift up again. Crypto Jigo is again experienced business owner in the IT arena, and also has done a great deal of work in helping support the building out of teams. And so just want to lift all that up, right? Because we bring our full selves into this space, and sometimes people only see the education side, but there's also, of course, a wealth of skills and layers to us as human beings. So thank you, Crypto Jigo.
I appreciate
Blue.
you.
Yeah, no, appreciate you, brother. Blue.
Hey, how's it going, all? I'm the Blue Chicken. um, Good morning, once more, and great introduction by Rever and Crypto, GG. Um, yeah, I was inspired to pretty much fully follow this project because coming from like Australia, where healthcare system is just essential, and and considered one not one of the best in the world, but just like up there in the world too, like just basic Medicare. And you've got portions of the world that don't even have that, even including first world countries where it's like it's fully coming out of the person's pocket and not the taxpayer, essentially. Like that, it's just like that system. It works, and I believe like even though like this is not a direct duplication of it, it has the best chance to be utilized across the entire globe as well. And so I saw a solution to a problem. That's what I saw, and a great solution at that. So yeah, so I'm here to essentially be the night shift and answer any questions, do and pretty much service the community in a way that I can possibly do, thanks to the experience of running several gaming communities and setting up their discords and doing a whole bunch of other stuff for them. It's a lot of fun, and I'm sure that this venture is going to be as fun, if not more so. So yeah, I'm the blue chicken. I'll just put this.
Thanks so much, Blue. And you know, I just want to, like, here's the truth. You know, tech is difficult, and this area of crypto tech, as a result of, as you all understand, the kind of volatility and the emotions that are, you know, are the result of that volatility. It can create like numerous instances of feeling a bit down, right? Even as you're trucking along, and I will say, you know, Blue came forward and said, "How can I help?" and always brings a ton of positive energy, and I am hoping that creates a necessary balance, right? Even within the community side of the team, but also within the spaces that Blue is able to support moderation, where you know there are going to be tough days, and even if they're not on the company side, it could be on the community side. And I'm really excited to have, you know, Blue bring that positivity, and of course his experience in building out communities and engaging with them in these environments. You know, Discord is very interesting. How you design it in many ways kind of forces you to adjust your moderation strategies. And some discords are kind of like free for all, open and chaotic, and then others are a little more well structured, and it does require kind of more formality in how you engage. And so we're trying to do a balance of both with Reaver. You know, there is a verification process that's necessary. We do think that that's a first step towards ensuring that we're not getting kind of raided by bots, as an example, or that there's not kind of an, you know, ill intent or scams going on, and if so, that there are flags that can easily, you know, or more quickly be raised if things like that are happening. So it all is with the aim to ensure that there's a nurturing. When I say nurturing, it both means in providing information and, yes, in addressing difficult questions, but a nurturing environment. And you know, I'm not saying that Twitter can't be that, but certainly Discord is our, again, core medium that we're using for community development. So more altruism. Again, he may join. I just want to again say, I mean, he's been out there helping a ton of people. This is the team that, you know, we are on the community side. These are the individuals that you should go to ask questions, aside from myself, right? Please also know that we together have collectively designed a code of ethics that, you know, you can essentially assess our performance on, and how we are operating on the community side. That is up on the rules section. And so it is important for us, of course, to set the standard as to like what you can and should expect, is both from the perspective of how we're going about communicating to how we're supporting. And if ever there's any concerns or questions, I just want you to all know, please feel free to send those, whether it's directly to me or through the ticket system. There's a complete transparency on our end, and so we do want to make sure that any concerns are addressed. If the concerns are related to like you didn't get a question answered in 5 minutes, I just want to be very upfront and set expectations. We're going to try our best, but you will get a response. But please understand, we are an early stage tech company, right? And in most early stage tech companies don't necessarily build out like quote unquote community side teams. This is unique in the crypto space, and it is amazing, I think. But it's also something that I just want you to all be aware of. Like, our team will grow over time. We're trying to do something from learning from other communities early on, and CryptoJigo Blue, More Altruism, are our first step in that direction. Also, we will be making more educational videos. They may not be Hollywood great at first, but they will certainly be good, and they'll give you the information that you need to understand. Blue made one of the first ones, which was how to verify your early hooded Rever NFT, and we'll continue to do that, especially for this liquidity event. So in terms of the liquidity event, just to get more into that, I want to kind of reset everyone's attention on, first off, that there is a white paper. The white paper is not an in-depth business plan with market entry points and technical differentiation. I would not even share that without an NDA. And to be very clear, there's a reason for that, because ultimately when you're building, not only a technology solution, but when you're talking about your market entry plan, you always have to understand that, there is competition that either exists or will exist. And so from our perspective, what we have introduced as the first white paper is really a high level overview of what the challenges are and what our ecosystem aims to do in terms of bringing a solution to market. I mean, you can infer what's going to happen, but of course, I just want to acknowledge that it's not a lot of detail in terms of the protocols, their designs, and how they'll function, and how ultimately, the utility token and the strength of the liquidity pool are going to take effect, right? Now, white papers, and we call them the Ankhs, and that's just an Egyptian hieroglyphic that you're seeing on the document above. That are these keys. There are 3 keys. The keys are our way of getting into more depth. So while the first one, we're starting with overview, mission, values, vision, and what this overarching ecosystem looks like in the multiple assets and layers, the second one is more in depth, right? And when I say in depth, it is attempting to make sure that you all understand more of the technical roadmap, like where are we between, for instance, the second and the third. And then ultimately, as we get towards the third, we are approximating the product deployment, the core product. And yes, by that time, there are other things that will already have been released. Even this month, expect that the Mythos will start to get released chapter by chapter, which has already been completed, Mythos being a book. And the book has, of course, a storyline, an arc. And from within that, there are representations, symbols, and metaphors that relate back to these color hooded Rever tokens, or NFTs, that is. Now, how do these play into this kind of general roadmap? Just understand that if you have an early hooded Rever NFT, you are only one of 137 people that has it, and that will mean something. Now, with that said, what it has meant initially is that you have early access to Discord, and that you will have early access to additional channels that will open. That's what it initially means. The next hooded Rever will be the minted hooded. The minted hooded is specifically not only designed in terms of the graphics, we have a unique protocol that we've designed for that NFT. When we start the liquidity process, which has been described in the document, that minted hooded NFT will be what you will be purchasing on our website, and expect that to be deployed within the next 48 hours. Specifically the website, to be clear here. The website we deployed, so you can have all the information I'm giving you, and you'll be able to review it again on the website in terms of understanding the process. However, you will not see the minted hooded Rever NFT until, again, the fourth day of the liquidity event process. The fourth day. Remember, days 1 to 3 are days where we need anyone who's interested to verify on Discord, to submit a ticket. That ticket will be there, the individual submitting their wallet address. And the reason we're using the ticket system is, again, to ensure that no one else sees that wallet address except our team, which is ultimately taking it and ensuring that it gets whitelisted. Once those 3 days are done and that door is closed, the next phase begins. At this point, we open up the page to allow for purchasing of the minted hooded NFT on our website. Then there are 3 days. 3 days to acquire the minted hooded. The first day is the best day. It is the most affordable. And this has been it's very intentional that we've designed it this way, because we don't want people to wait, because there is a reason for a timeline. Right? The reason is that there are administrative steps that we need to take, and in order to be effectively organized and not to miss something or make a mistake, we have to compartmentalize the phases of this liquidity event. We are trying to make this accessible and equitable. And I know that you may wonder, well, why have an NFT if you want to do that? Well, there are 2 reasons. One is we want you to participate, but we want many others to be able to participate. And by getting an NFT, and again, making sure that you keep it in your wallet and never move it from that wallet, you will have access. And potentially, there could be 3,000 people along with you that have access. And that is ultimately the goal. The goal is not to raise $10 million for the liquidity. No. The goal is to have the opportunity to have more people participate. As more people participate, the limit per individual will be lower. And we're going to give you all that information, right, on the 7th day. So on the 7th day, we will essentially go through a quick assessment, see how many total people have acquired the NFT, and then say, again, what is a healthy amount of liquidity? What is the total number of individuals that have chosen to participate, knowing that not everyone will participate at the limit, but in then getting to a point where we, again, focus on, taking a step to get us a healthy liquidity to ensure that we have a path towards the exchanges, right? As is important, because that's amount that helps increase volume over time. But and then ultimately, it could be that if 3,000 people participate, the limit's 300. And we haven't seen that a lot. But that makes for a really strong foundation in terms of community. And then ultimately, as I said before, once a liquidity event starts, what that means is this: there will be an announcement. Listen for the clues. Immediately after this process is complete, just pay attention. The moment the green light goes, per se, and it's probably not going to be a green light, right? But that's when everybody can start going to the website and then essentially invest whatever they want based on the limit. There's only a top limit, not a low limit, right? So there's no minimum. There's only a maximum. And once you participate, just understand that the way we have to coordinate this, we have set it so that the liquidity event automatically triggers the launch. So once we reach a threshold, which you're all going to know before the liquidity event starts, on the 7th day, we're going to tell you what the threshold that needs to be reached is and what your limit is. And then if you still choose to participate at that point, because you all have free will, you can choose whatever you want at any given point. But if you choose to participate, you're going to understand that once that limit's reached, then it automatically triggers a launch. So my suggestion is, if you've gone through this whole process, the moment that the announcement's made that it starts, just go to the website and participate, right? Don't wait, because if the launch is triggered, then ultimately that's it. You're not in the liquidity event, you're then in the launch. I also just want to point out here, going back to these NFTs, if you have an early hooded Rever NFT, my suggestion is to place that in its own wallet, preferably MetaMask if you understand how to navigate MetaMask. Put that if you already have it, great. Then use that wallet. Try to keep the Rever NFT separate, because you need to keep them together. These keys will be used in combinations. There will be benefits and rewards over time both involving how these serve as access keys to certain channels and resources, and also how we're able to see, right, like who has the combination of NFTs, for instance, that would ultimately provide early airdropping, right, of what would be like our unique progressive NFTs, which ultimately are going to serve as our governance instruments. So this is why it's important. As you've seen on the little image above, this is not trying to give you a step by step and not giving you a breakdown of all the benefits right now. Like, that's not what it's doing. All I'm saying is that in the progression between the first and third white paper, there are going to be sets of NFTs that will be accessible. If you're in the left-hand side, that is a good thing. If the yellows and the purples between the first and white paper, as you can imagine, that's going to be accessible in a post-launch time frame, and then between the second and the third in a pre-product deployment time frame. And these things matter. So at the end of the day, I just want to stress that we are designing the protocols behind the NFTs. The only one that does not have a unique protocol, but there are only 137, and we're going to have all the addresses that have them and that keep them, are the early hooded Reavers. That's a Polygon NFT. It's the only one that's not going to be unique, but again, there are only 137. So with that said, want you all to know that within the next 48 hours, the website will be up, the full website. All the information will be there, and expect again an announcement that we will begin. There's just a few more things we need to make sure we're taking care of. I would suggest, I'm going to take questions in a moment, but I would suggest that if anyone that might be interested in learning more, direct them to the white paper, direct them to the Discord, where our great moderators will answer any questions. I know that the market is what the market is, but understand that the world needs a resource like this, right? I mean, supply chain bottlenecks, bidding wars are creating havoc, and they're not getting better. These things are not getting better. So our timeline as an organization, with the aim to have Unirever as a platform within the Rever ecosystem, provide a solution for, again, small and large, but starting with small institutional stakeholders like independent pharmacies, private practices, small community hospitals, medical products vendors, right? Giving them an opportunity to collectively come together and to have purchasing power and leverage to ensure that they can access more affordable pricing of products. And within that same ecosystem, extending some of those cost savings and benefits to health consumers. This is what we need. So we're moving forward. And as we move forward, and as you listen for the next 48 hours for an announcement, and go to the website once it's deployed, my hope is that you will inform others of what we're doing. I also want to be clear that we have, yes, strategic technical advisor, Thomas, that yes, was associated with SafeMoon. From my perspective, it is great to have technical advisors that can think about risk mitigation steps and provide our developers with an understanding of how to reduce the risk across our technology development timeline. That is important. Yes, we have business executive advisors as well that have worked in large hospital systems that are helping us understand contractual terms, timelines, capital sales cycles. Okay, all of these advisors are essential in terms of giving us information that will help us not only build a technology that is stronger, but to ensure that as we go into the marketplace, that we have that solution adopted by the institutions that we need to work within the ecosystem for it to function. In terms of our business structure, to be very clear here, the second white paper will have more details around the business structure. Of course, before we have an operational product that is being sold in the market, of course, this step needs to take place, which is why it is the second white paper. We are operating under a stealth LLC. That may not be something that everyone likes, but from a technology development standpoint and having worked in medical device ventures, stealth LLCs are a good way to avoid getting competition to figure out too much of what you're trying to do and have the funds to accelerate beyond your stage. So I'm being very transparent here as to what you can expect from the first white paper, which is already out, and then the second white paper, and then ultimately how the second white paper is pre-product deployment and how the third is more near product deployment. We, of course, will have audits that need to take place between the first and the second, starting with the token protocol and then going on to the product and the protocols within the product, right? Like this information is going to be coming out. If you are not prepared at this stage, based on what you're seeing, then just stay plugged in. Just keep looking. And, once you see what we're doing and you see enough detail that you're comfortable, then move forward. But everyone who has an early hooded Reaver, everyone who has a minted hooded Reaver, everyone who participates at this stage, know that we will be having weekly AMAs. We will have moderators that are providing as much in the way of disclosures as they can without obviously extending into any IP. And that's the responsibility that I have and the senior developers around, like, how much we're also protecting them, right, from disclosing. So there is a little bit of a partition that we need to make in terms of like the details and strategies around some of the unique protocols on the Unilever platform as compared to what the overall process aim and value added feature is. And so we're trying our best as an organization to make sure that we're not putting moderators at risk either. And so we're all taking this care. Why am I saying this? There's just a lot of talk about credibility and how, whether people understand how to develop business. We understand how to develop business. I also think that this arena, this kind of intersection of technology, utility tokens now that are allowing for more, technology development in the crypto space, and then crypto, it's getting a little interesting in terms of standards, like standards of practice and what that means. So I just want to be clear that the tokenomics, the plan between the first and second white paper, the plan between the first and second white paper, to be clear, the first paper is for you to have a full picture of the tokenomics, ask questions about it, understand the mission, values, and overall way that we're going to go about addressing a solution. And then the second white paper is business structure, organizational structure in terms of hierarchy. The team will grow between the first and second white paper. And that's largely, why we want to wait to the second white paper. As of now, early stage, 10-person venture is early stage, right? That is not a 20, 25-person venture. And yet by the second white paper, that is our aim. Our aim is to grow the technical team, second to that, community team, and then third, as we approach product deployment, the business development team. And these conversations with institutions have already been taking place, of course. But with that said, anyone that's been involved on the capital sales side knows that you do need a more robust business development team, especially as you're working around the country. Okay, so with that, I want to give everyone a big kind of update in terms of moderators, who our great moderators are, what the liquidity event looks like, the timeline again, how these hooded Rever NFTs fit in terms of our ecosystem as access keys, how we will leverage our ability to see those access keys in combination with one another as you go through these kind of verification processes to access not only the first wave of progressive NFTs, which are governance instruments, but also how we can also over time provide benefits and rewards to those that have been actively participating in the environment and believing in our mission at its core. So with that, I want to address any questions that anyone does have at this time. Yeah.
Let's bring up Mr. Cryptocurrency. He's been waiting patiently to have it with his hand up. Just got to remember.
That's his PFP. Actually.
Oh, that's funny. My bad.
It is good though.
Absolutely gold there.
Any questions? Any questions at all? So I'm just going to go, we're close to the, we're at this point, you can expect, again, a big announcement. It's not going to be another hour AMA. It's just going to be a kind of, as they say, a green light, and then you can all proceed based on your comfort zone. In the meantime, I do want to go back to the white paper if you haven't reviewed the white paper and go right up to the tokenomics. So again, I described, the problem, the mission, what our ecosystem and Unilever platform as a product within the ecosystem is focused on doing. Did not get into the technical weeds, but with all that said, if you're asking how does that ecosystem bring value back to token holders, going back to it forces me back now to the tokenomics. So this is a deflationary token, ERC20. In terms of the tokenomics, there are reflections. If you go, so let me actually pin the tweet to the top. Blue, can you get do you have access to the tweet with the white paper right now? Or I'll look for it.
Let me check. Give me a second.
Make sure everybody can access it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right. Crypto Gigo had one up, so I'm pinning it to the top now. Yep. So everyone can take a look at the same time if you'd like. So if you look at the tokenomics again, it's a 2% burn rate, 3% reflections. There is a development, marketing, and liquidity support wallet, and I know that's a mouthful, but it's 7%. And so what that means is the way we've designed the protocol. Yes, as a business that is focused on technology development and one that will ultimately have certain operational costs with it that will increase as we need to scale, it is essential that we have a development marketing wallet. We added an ability to essentially, just to simplify it, to switch off our taking anything in development and marketing, right? So at the end of the day, the aim is to have enough for us to ensure that we're building value, right, in terms of technology development and making sure that we're addressing the cost of business. However, when we have the resources we need, especially as we get to product deployment, our perspective is direct that to the liquidity pool. We rather see more value added to the liquidity pool, especially if we don't need the funds. And I know anyone that has a business might say, well, why would you ever say you won't need funds? And yeah, there's never absolutes here. It's not, there's no extremes. However, there are instances, especially as you see with the volatility in the market, where it could be essential, right, to again support the liquidity pool and thereby to support the community. And that's ultimately why we added that feature. In terms of the tax rate that you see there, in terms of the formula, what's included in the tax rate are the reflections in this marketing dev liquidity wallet, and that's 10%. Now, if you're asking, well, like, what does it always stay there? We did add a feature to adjust it, but it cannot be adjusted up. So there is a limit. So you can't increase it, you can only decrease it. And the aim, and I'm just being 100% here, the aim is not to have it fluctuate as a way to have people kind of come in and kind of get them in on low, and then they get forced out, they have to sell, and pay a higher tax rate. That's not the aim. The aim is to actually, keep it at this rate, and then once our platform is released, to make it more advantageous to participate in that ecosystem, right? And so it's to go down, but to do so in more of a very absolute way, rather than adjusting it up and down, up and down. I don't think that's healthy, and frankly I think that's confusing for the community, and I can only see that kind of spiraling down into a lot of questions. So from our perspective, just want to make clear that's how we've designed it. That's been the intention, and yeah. So again, it's a deflationary token in our ecosystem, in our platform, Unilever. There is an expectation that, based on our design, which I cannot go into a lot of detail, but there will be, a utility, and thereby there will also be a hyper burn mechanism as a result of how we're utilizing the token in that ecosystem. So again, all that, when you're thinking about how does it bring value back, it is in fact having a utility in the Unilever platform, which is again within the ecosystem. If you read through the white paper, you'll hear other things about a mythos, which I said are connected to our NFTs and scriptonomics, and how we're going to leverage those different assets in order to bring value. I just want to make sure that even as those things are interesting, and we've already in fact created and published, registered, a book, it is important just to know that we are focused on the core product, which is Unilever, and everything else introduces some instrument and some, I would say, color into the UniRiver platform. But at the end of the day, our aim is to support, again, the transformation of healthcare through this platform that can provide instruments for procurement and negotiation to smaller stakeholders like community hospitals, independent pharmacies, private practices, and to ensure that that B2B, that business to business ecosystem has a business to consumer layer that will ultimately allow for health consumers to access those cost savings and benefits as well. So I've gone through all of that, and I did want to point to the tokenomics and make sure that everybody understood the why. Certain things have been designed and the numbers. If there are any questions to that, happy to answer it. I also understand that that could be a deterrent for some, and I do think it's important to acknowledge if that's the case now. I totally understand, but just know that I think that there are some strong communities that have had similar tokenomics, and that ultimately those tokenomics are weighted in the fact that with technology ventures over time, there is a need not only to add value to the community that's holding the token to the token, right, and the community that holds it, but to also ensure that you're addressing the cost associated with scaling a business, one that's truly aiming to transform an industry, and in this case, healthcare. Any questions? Okay, I see Richard come up. Okay. So if there are no questions, rather than continuing to have, okay, I see Richard come up.
Hello there, sir. How's it going today?
It's going well. How are you?
Oh, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Love the crypto world.
Hello, Richard.
Black liquidity. Hello there, sir. How's it going I today? just jumped in. I was
It's going well.
invited
How are you?
Oh, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Love the crypto world. Um, We were talking earlier. liquidity. Block liquidity. Just wanted to
I just jumped in. I was invited by Maori Style. Um, we were talking earlier, and he kind of threw me into the group here, and just wanted to learn a little bit and find out a little bit. I heard the end of the conversation. I was just wondering if there was a couple things you could touch base on the percentages on tokenomics. I guess that's my first thing.
Yeah, so we have a 10% tax rate, 3% is reflection, 7% is development, marketing, and liquidity. So as of now, we have a switch. And so the switch is that we could essentially direct all that's going to the development marketing wallet to liquidity at times to ensure that we're nurturing the liquidity pool, especially if we're fine on the development side in terms of having the team members we need, especially pre-product deployment, and certainly after, once we are generating revenues. In terms of the tax rate, it's capped at 10, but it can go down. So the way the protocol is designed, it can't go up, and we're starting at the top. But the aim is to have it go down, especially as we deploy our product, and certainly to ensure that we're rewarding those that are participating in that particular ecosystem. That's a way to avoid deploying a secondary contract, but also a way to instill confidence in that there's a cap, right? So it won't go higher. So if anyone is uncomfortable with that starting point, then at least they can know right up front that they're not comfortable with it as compared to something increasing on them or something like that. But we certainly want to have the flexibility to bring it down, especially as you're designing utility into a technology ecosystem. In terms of the burn rate's 2%. And then also in terms of the liquidity pool, 3 years. As of now, you work with third-party services for that type of stuff. So where we are is 3 years, and then community governance over that. So essentially, we've seen historically, without naming organizations, but there have been organizations that have had to migrate to a secondary contract and they have their liquidity locked. And so we want to have the flexibility for Rever as an organization to submit a request. Like, let's say something goes wrong, there's a major security flaw, or for some reason the business model has to change, and therefore the technology protocol, like the protocols have to change, and therefore we need to develop a secondary contract. I mean, there's a number of things that could happen. I'm just kind of throwing out that there could be a reason that we need a secondary contract deployed, and then now the liquidity is locked. And let's say this happens in the second year. So the reason it's 3 years is for the possibility that if it does happen in the second year, that even, let's just say we have a relatively small community and the community prefers that votes that it not be unlocked, then we can still have like 12 months of trying to figure out, I think 12 months a company can kind of be creative and sustain itself even before a secondary contract deployment, even if it has to lock down certain services is not ideal. But at the same time, my hope is, with transparency and a clear reason, especially on the business side, if we as an organization present a request to the community and say, hey, we're at 16 or 24 months, we have to deploy the secondary contract for these reasons. We'd like to request to the community that's carrying the governance instruments, whether we can unlock this just to go move on to the secondary contract. Then the community can vote on it. So it's community governed liquidity. We also see this, I think Everrise, and there are some organizations that are creating kind of platforms to be that third party service that helps to do this, right? But it is still being done in terms of that you are setting up these contractual agreements, and then there's a third party that's holding it, right? And so this is what we're going to do. I'm not saying we're working with Everrise, but I just use that as an example that I think it is going to become somewhat of a standard over time, especially as DAOs become more popular. So that's the way we call it, community locked liquidity.
That was a very good explanation, my friend. Is there any reflections, and what are the future utilities of the project?
Yeah, so there are the 3% reflections, and in terms of utility, so I can't go into detail into the protocols and the technology in terms of the actual protocols. I do want to make sure that we address intellectual property and not divulge too much early on. But the ecosystem, if you weren't around to learn about the UniRiver. So under Rever, there are multiple assets. The core product is UniRiver, the platform. And so UniRiver is, think of it as a marketplace platform that is bringing smaller stakeholders in the healthcare sector, like private practices, independent pharmacies, community hospitals. And I say smaller, there's of course a desire by larger institutions for the same support. But in healthcare, it's so fragmented that there's a significant need, right, by smaller stakeholders to find solutions where they can come together and essentially procure or purchase a large quantity of products. And, their attempt is to get reasonable prices, right, like affordable pricing or a certain discount, so that ultimately, they can not only maintain their business costs, but also I do think that there's always with the smaller practices in particular, I do see many of them trying to extend the cost of medications, for instance, at cost, meaning like they're trying to, get it at a price that's affordable and extend that price directly on to the health consumer, to the patient, without too much of a markup, right? And so if we can support the smaller stakeholders, then ultimately within that ecosystem, based on our design, we will have a business to consumer layer where those small businesses that are transacting at the retail side, where they're essentially selling to patients, would be able to extend the cost savings that they've achieved. And so the utility token is one that will be leveraged in that ecosystem. So the Rever token that we're deploying in ERC20, but secondary to that, we also have governance instruments. And so we have a Mythos, and the chapters will start to be deployed this month or dropped. And within that Mythos, there's essentially certain there's an object called an echo, and the echo captures essentially the essence of something. And so the essence of the UniRiver platform and the Rever ecosystem is that decentralizing power is ultimately what's going to lead to the transformation of healthcare. And so in this ecosystem where we're supporting small businesses and their procurement needs, at the end of the day, it is essential that how the protocols evolve in that ecosystem be dictated by the community. And so having governance instruments in the form of these progressive NFTs, which are echoes, is a mechanism that we will have, which I believe is unique for any one in the kind of healthcare crypto arena, is a means to put power into the hands of smaller stakeholders and health consumers that are participating in our business to consumer marketplace.
Very nice, very nice. I will say one of my last questions, or another question, I should say, not the last. How many devs are on the team?
Yeah, so UX UI, front dev, back end as well, and those are non blockchain, and then we have two blockchain devs, and I'm compartmentalizing obviously because they do front and back end as well. But in terms of the skill sets and how they differentiate, they've worked in developing blockchains in the past, and also in the arena that I'm describing here of these kind of marketplaces where large volume transactions take place, and they've specifically designed the protocols not only for the protocol for the token, but also a protocol for our liquidity event NFT, and they're going to be translating the processes and algorithms that have been designed by the front and back end devs over onto protocols as well, at least some of them. Yeah. So it's a relatively small team, right? In the scale of that's a technical team specifically.
Okay, so your main devs is only how many?
5.
Core team? Yeah, 5. Nice. Well, that is actually a good team. 5 is a good team. And what did you get into about NFTs? I didn't know how to ask the question. Because you're doing the healthcare thing. What are you trying to do with the NFTs?
So the NFTs again they're associated with a mythos in terms of the symbolism and how they kind of tie back to the story per se that's behind Rever.
Mr. Host, I think you got caught in the blockchain. I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I got that too. I ended up losing connection then. I think he may have as well.
Mr. Host, I think you got caught in the blockchain. Can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I got that too. I ended up losing connection then. I think he may have as well.
All good. So, Mr. Blue Chicken, do you have anything you want to throw in there since you're the co-host?
I think he'll be back soon.
Moderator at the moment, bro. So there's a lot that
Looks like he's
I
completely
actually
gone.
don't know and cannot disclose at the
All
same
good.
time as well.
So,
If I do
Mr.
know.
Blue Chicken, do you have anything you
So,
want to
with,
throw in there
what was your
since you're the
question, again?
co-host?
Sorry.
I'm just the community moderator at the moment, bro. So there's a lot that I actually don't know and cannot disclose at the same time as well. If I do know, so with what was your question again? Sorry. So the
No.
NFTs.
Yeah, my question was just how the NFTs are kind of working with
Right.
the,
Well, the NFTs are just mainly
this is
keys.
River, it's
Is the best way to think
about
it. They're just keys that are
healthcare
going to
and
get
stuff
you
like
into
that.
the
How
events
the
and
NFTs work with it, what they're doing with
how
it,
they
something like that.
intentionally work with the Medicare, so healthcare system
Right.
is
Well, the NFTs are just mainly keys.
just yet.
Is the best way to think about it. They're just keys that we're going to get you into the events, and how they intentionally work with the Medicare, so healthcare system is I actually don't know in that sense, just yet. But the main thing is, yeah, they're keys to getting you into like events, like whether it's a liquidity event, whether it's a to be able to just say hello to a certain person or something like that. It's just like
it's there.
the concept of keys
There
is
is
very
a
important
very good
here
use
with
for these
with these
NFTs,
things.
and
I
as
hope that slightly helps
was
because
mentioned
yeah,
before,
like I
you
said, the
try
technical
to
side of
mint
things I don't know too
these
much
NFTs as
about,
soon as possible
but
on the first
and
day of
I
the
haven't been
release,
privy to a
preferably because
lot of
that's
stuff
when they
just yet,
are
but
going to be the
it's there.
cheapest. So
There is a
that's
very
one
good
of the
use for these NFTs, and
important things there.
as as was mentioned before,
Yeah,
you're
like I said,
gonna
it just
kind of
keeps
want to
allowing you
get
to get
these
entry
NFTs as soon as
early,
possible
and
on
that's
the first day of
one of the
their
main
release, if
concepts behind it. But
preferably because that's when they
not
are
everybody
going to be the cheapest.
am privy to it.
So like that's one of
Yeah, I hope that helps. Sorry.
important things there. Yeah, and like I said, they're just keys that allow you to get entry, and that's the one of the main concepts behind them at the moment.
Oh, I'm sure it's just more of the spaces. I feel like it's definitely catching on more. I've been seeing it build up more and more for sure. But once it's actually like everything opens up, it's gonna be a lot more fun. I have a few friends that are like, but they're just with the whole NFT thing. They're a little just like, I'm not sure.